Hey guys, it's CognitivePit, and I thought I would do just a little bit of discussion on the new WoW expansion, Mists of Pandaria. Now, there's a lot of controversy over this expansion. A lot of people are saying they're going to quit and that it's going to be terrible and stupid. So I'm just going to pretty much tell you guys what I think about it. I'll go through some of the information if you've missed anything. Now, one of the most important things is that the new race is going to be pandas. Yep, if you haven't seen my song, it was the last video I put up. The new race is in fact pandas. They're called Pandaren. They are in the game. Well, they're not in the World of Warcraft, but they were in Warcraft 3, a very minor role. But they were there, so it's not like they're just making up pandas. That's the first thing. You can't blame Blizzard for just making up some crazy race, but because the race has already existed, so it's not too strange that pandas will be in this game. Let me just go through the whole panda thing. So what's important is that the pandas will be able to be played on Horde or Alliance. Now, I don't see a problem with this. I think it's actually a refreshing change, but basically the only issue I see with this is that in a sanctuary zone, something like the Molten Front, just for that little bit where you get the quests or something like that, where you just can't attack the opposing faction. This is if you're on a PvP server. If you can't attack the opposing faction, you all have blue names. And if you're the same race, it actually might be hard to distinguish if they're on Alliance or Horde. But that's not really that big of a deal. You just might get surprise ganked every now and then. Okay, now let's go through here. The racial traits for Pandaren are Epicurean, which increases the stat benefits from food by 100%. Which is, that's interesting, I guess. I don't think it's super useful, but I suppose when leveling, especially as maybe a mage or something, it could be very useful. Then we have Gourmand, which is basically increasing the cooking skill by 15. Interesting. I mean, somewhat useful, nothing too crazy. And then we have what I think is pretty... I don't know what to call it. The Pandaren, they're not like a hero race, so they're not starting at a especially high level. But their next racial trait, called Inner Peace, is basically your rest bonus lasts twice as long as any other class. So that means if you rest for the night, you're pretty much rested for twice as much as any other class would be. This gives a huge leveling bonus to people playing Pandaren. I think this really helps, though, because I think a lot of people are already playing the game. They already have 85s, they're going to have 90s, and they just want to play through as a panda. This isn't like Recruit a Friend, we're getting 3 times XP. It's more just a reasonable addition to your experience so that you can level faster without having too big of a bonus like 3 times. The next thing is Bouncy, where you actually take 50% less falling damage. That's gonna be useful in some points. I mean, it's similar to the rogues, how they don't really take any falling damage. It's cool, but nothing that has to do with any PvE or any PvP. Then they have the Quaking Palm, which I think is pretty cool. You touch a secret pressure point on an enemy target, putting to sleep for 3 seconds. Now, this is, I suppose, pretty similar to the Tauren, the ability where they stun any opponents. But the thing about this is I'm pretty sure it sounds like it is an instant cast, which is pretty useful for PvP. I think it might see some use in PvE, but I mean it's really not anything too much. So there's not really any combat stats increased for the Pandaren, so keep that in mind when you're choosing classes, even though pandas are cool, that they're actually not receiving any additional bonus when fighting. Now, the available classes are Hunter, Priest, Shaman, Mage, Rogue, and Warrior. So that opens up another class for Alliance to play Shaman. But yeah, it's a good list. But then there's also the new class called Monk, which I think a lot of people are going to be rolling as pandas because monks are pretty darn cool. Basically what a monk is, a monk's like a monk. You can pretty much fight things using monkish kung fu prowess, kind of like Kung Fu Panda. We all got it. Now the armor, it can be cloth or leather, so you're probably going to wear something similar to rogue stuff is what I'm guessing. That seems to be what they're going for. The weapons that you will be able to use, which I'm hoping this brings back a whole new era of fist weapons, because they can use fist weapons, and as a monk you'd think like fist weapons, that's sort of your thing, maybe more like brass knuckles or something like that. It would be very cool to see fist weapons come back, that's just my only point, because fist weapons are really not seen too often anymore. Another thing, they can use one-handed axes, one-handed maces, one-handed swords, polearms, and staves, which basically, I mean, it's going to be pretty similar to a feral druid in the respect of a staff or a polearm, and the one-handed stuff, I'm assuming they can dual wield, will be pretty similar to a rogue, but it looks like most of their abilities are going to be, we don't actually know all of their abilities, but it looks like it's going to be more like punches, kicks, things like that, where the weapons are more of a stat booster, like for a hunter. Every race in the game is actually able to be a monk, which is very interesting. So every single race is going to be able to play this new class. So it's going to be very, very cool, so you can try out the new content without actually having to play a panda. And yeah, that's going to be pretty cool, actually. Now, there's a few other changes. One of the major ones is the new talent system. Now, they're pretty much just getting rid of talents. I hate to say it, but that's pretty much what they're doing. What they're trying to do is get rid of the cookie cutter builds, where basically everyone is just using the same builds, because it's theoretically, well, not theoretically, it's statistically the best build in the game, so why would you not do it? What they're doing is, every 15 levels, you're going to get 1 point to put into a tier. There's going to be however many tiers, I think it's however 6? Is it 6? Yes, it is 6. There's going to be 6 tiers. And basically, there's 3 choices on each tier. And every 15 levels, you get to pick 1 from each tier. And they're all going to basically do the same thing. Like, 3 of them might be slows down movement if you hit this. If you hit the spell, slows down movement on chance of, like, melee attack. Or they're, like, slows down movement when you get hit for the other person. So things like that, where they're all pretty much the same thing. They're different, but they have like the same overall outcome, like slowing a target, doing more DPS, taking less damage. They're all going to be the same, I guess, the same basic idea. What's weird about these talents is they're the same for each race, each class. So if you're a paladin, it doesn't matter if you're holy, ret, or prot, you are going to have the same talents as any other paladin. Which, I don't know if I agree with that. I think they're really just taking away the fun of leveling, because talent points are pretty awesome, and I liked it every level. Now it's every other level, so it feels a little better to get the talent, but they're just going to give it to you every 15 levels now, which is really, I think, is disappointing. And basically, these talents are kind of useless. You can pretty much do well without any of the talents, and that's what they're going for. They're saying that they don't want any cookie cutter builds, but what they're doing is pretty much just taking out the fun of talents. So when you choose ret at the beginning, you're going to get the ret spells just from leveling. You're not going to have to spec into them or anything. So it's going to be an interesting change. But I think there's still going to be cookie cutter builds. I mean, people are going to say, if you're a prot paladin, you choose these. If you're a ret paladin, you choose these. I think maybe it'll open up more options for PvP and the way you want a PvP, which is interesting. It's interesting. I mean, it's not terrible. Moving on here. Let's see. Oh, scenarios. Scenarios are basically like any kind of epic quest that you might have done. Something sort of like that, where you're going to group up, sort of like a random grouping, and you're going to embark on an epic scenario as posted on the website. So basically, like the fight for Undercity, you'd be able to play that again, but with people, and you should be getting gear from it and stuff. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to be definitely fun. Along with that, there's also going to be challenge modes, which I think sound amazing. So basically, right now, let's talk about Zillimon. Zillimon right now is it can be difficult depending on what group you get. Sometimes it's very easy, sometimes it can be a little bit of challenge, but I guess to look at it like the timed run to get the mount is pretty difficult still. I mean, it's hard unless you have like a good group. You can't just go in and do it willy-nilly. Willy-nilly. All right. Anyway, so what a challenge mode is, it's going to be going to a dungeon. And basically what you're going to be doing is your gear is going to be normalized. So if you have an item level 300, let's say, total, when you go into that scenario, all your stuff's going to get scaled up so that you have an average item level of like 500, let's say. So basically everyone's on the same playing field no matter what gear you have. So basically it comes down to your skill in the instance. So I think that's really cool. So that timed run, it doesn't matter what gear you have to be good to do with the timed run. And basically you're going to be trying to get the best times possible in these dungeons. And you can gain, this is amazing rewards, but as far as I've seen, it's going to be like cosmetic armor, which is pretty cool with the transmogrification and stuff. You're going to be able to change your armor and make it look cool. And you can pretty much just show off how well you've done, because if you get a gold, so like the best time in the world ever, you'll be able to show off some really cool armor. Finally, what I think I'd like to talk about is the pet battle system. Now, the pet battle system is somewhat interesting. I think this is going to be kind of cool. A lot of people are pretty upset about it for whatever reason. I don't know. They basically added Pokemon to the game, which I'm fine with. Pokemon's awesome. Your vanity pets or your non-combat pets, you're basically going to be able to fight other non-combat pets. It's going to be a turn-based system where it's pretty much like Pokemon. I mean, you can only choose you have a list of spells. You only choose a couple of them. I think it's 3. You have 3 abilities, and then you just pit your vanity pets against each other and see who's gonna win. And you train them and stuff. I mean, it's pretty much kind of like Pokemon. It's interesting. I think it's gonna be a very fun meta game to have within the game, and I think a lot of people are really gonna want to try to gather some really, really cool pets specifically for this. So I think it really opens up the whole vanity pet thing to people who aren't collectors, because I mean, if you're not a collector, a lot of people don't really care about the vanity pets. So I think that's going to be a very interesting change. It's definitely going to be fun, something to do when you're bored in WoW, perhaps. But overall, I think the Mists of Pandaria is going to be a pretty good expansion. It's definitely a refreshing change. I think a lot of people are out of perspective with WoW. They think that like everything has to be crazy awesome. I mean, like, we had Deathwing destroy the world, so I think it's very reasonable that we go to another continent. We don't just go into the Emerald Dream or something like that. A lot of people were thinking the Emerald Dream. But I think, in my opinion, it's going to be the Mists of Pandaria, then maybe the next expansion will be something epic again. Not that this isn't going to be epic, I think it's just going to be a different sort of expansion than we're used to. We're used to, like, the Lich King coming and well, not coming, they're just in Northrend killing everybody. And then we're used to Deathwing destroying all of Azeroth. But I think the Mists of Pandaria, it seems like we're the ones who are the bad guys who are ruining this whole sacred land that the pandas come from. So I think it's going to be a very good expansion. The changes are well welcomed by me. I'm excited to see all the changes. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Leave a comment. I could make a response video or just reply to your comments if you have any questions, or want to talk about this expansion with me. Oh, one final thing. If you pay, or not even pay, if you just say you're going to pay for the next year of WoW, you can get Diablo 3 for free, Tyrael's Mount, which is pretty awesome. It's a horse with crazy awesome wings, and you get to be in the open beta for, well, I guess it's an open beta. You get to be in the beta for Mists of Pandaria. So it's pretty cool. You'll be able to try out your panda beforehand, see if you like it. So, consider doing that. That would be really cool. Yeah, if you have any questions, let's leave them in the comments. But other than that, thank you for listening. Let me know if you like this style of video where I just talk about games coming up or anything like that. I will gladly make more, because there are a lot of games coming up. And if you want my opinion on them, then you just let me know. All right, thanks for listening, guys.